welcome. I'm Lorna Jackson. I'm a journalist, writer and commentator on the aesthetic medicine sector, and I'm thrilled to be bringing you an interview today with Lorna Bowes, CEO of AestheticSource Limited. So Lorna and her team are celebrating their 10-year anniversary this year, so it seemed like a wonderful opportunity to have a sit down and chat about where it all began, the last 10 years, and where we're going in the future. It's fair to say that you and I have known each other for many years, dare I say decades, but for those who are new to the world of aesthetic medicine, could you give us a potted history of your career and entry into the aesthetic sector?
Absolutely, Lorna, I certainly can. And yes, we have known each other decades. I think it's at least 2, in fact. Although I've been in the industry a little bit longer than that. So I came into the aesthetic industry at the beginning of the 1990s after a career in nursing. And as part of my nursing career, I worked at Charing Cross Hospital in the dermatological department and absolutely fell in love with skin, was fascinated by it. More about the healthy skin between patient episodes where they had to come in because they had diseased skin problems. From there, I, in the beginning of the 1990s, read an article about the Collagen Corporation and thought this looked really, really interesting, something that could work with skin to help people feel better about the way they looked. And so I reached out to the Collagen Corporation and found myself working there a few weeks later as a trainer and as a salesperson, going out and teaching doctors and nurses to do collagen injections. At that point, I started to get to know some of the other nurses. The person I worked most closely with at the time was Mandy Cameron, still in the industry, and she taught me so much over the years about, first of all, collagen injections, secondly about how to train, how to manage, and she encouraged me to do an MBA. Part of my MBA project was to set up a chain of clinics. And that found me setting up a company called the Bowes Clinics, which I set up in 1996. And when we sold in 2003, we had a team of nurses and a plastic surgeon delivering aesthetic treatments around the United Kingdom. The treatments we were delivering were mostly dermal fillers, some skincare and peels, which really carried on my love of skincare and what we could do with effective peels. And latterly, we started to do sclerotherapy and also botulinum toxin. During that period of time, there was a need to collect nurses together and to work together. And in fact, at one point, we tried to set up something called the Collagen Consortium. And the Collagen Consortium was a group of nurses, including myself, Constance Campion, Mary Duckett, a lot of names that are still around today. And we then started to work alongside the Royal College of Nursing as well. Liz Bardolph, Sharon Bennett, Emma Davies started to get involved. And that was where the ACN was born. So the British Association of Cosmetic Nurses started many, many years ago, and I still have hugely fond memories of being one of the founders alongside Sharon Bennett, Liz Bardolph and others setting up the BACN. As the industry grew, more and more people started to want to have articles written and published. And I was approached, before AestheticSource was set up, by a group who were intending to launch the Journal of Aesthetic Nursing. So I got very involved in the launch of that, and as part of that became the first consulting editor to the Journal of Aesthetic Nursing. That was an absolutely wonderful opportunity to increase the voice of nurses throughout aesthetics. There was a bit of pushback as to who should be doing injectables, and we felt very strongly that our nursing experience and knowledge gave us a wonderful platform to be able to make sure that we put patient needs first, but also had the knowledge and the understanding of skin anatomy and physiology that allowed us not only to do excellent work with fillers and toxins, but also skincare and peels.
AestheticSource was founded by you 10 years ago. Why did you decide to set up as a skincare distributor?
I saw a niche, I saw an option in the market to offer the very best clinically proven skincare from around the world, focusing purely on skin and skincare as opposed to being a multi-style distributor of lasers and injectables and everything. So we are niche, we specialise in skin, we know skin.
Your marketing states that your core values for the business are authenticity, trust and passion. Can you explain more about those?
So when we set up AestheticSource, I wanted to make sure that it had a point of difference. I wanted to make sure that the clinics that were coming to us to purchase skincare really knew where they stood. So we produced the 3 pillars of authenticity, trust and passion. I'm going to start with passion. It's passion for skincare and passion for customer service. And our customers are our suppliers, our clinics, and the end consumer or patient who's going to be using the skincare that we supply. And making sure that we really put across to people that we understand their clinic, we understand what they're trying to do. We've been there, we've had our own clinics, and throughout my team we have people who have worked in the aesthetic practices around the country and then have joined us to help to spread the word about the excellence of the products that we have. So we are all deeply passionate about skincare. And deeply passionate about each other as well, supporting each other as we grow, and that's within the team and within our customers. In terms of authenticity, it's about trying to put across that we really believe in everything that we do. We won't bring a product to market unless we believe in it. And there have been times when people have brought us skincare ranges and we've just said, no, we won't work with you because we can't see the clinical evidence, it doesn't stack up, or we don't like the marketing approach, it's too pushy, or there's just something which doesn't feel authentic about the relationship between AestheticSource and the supplier, so we don't go ahead. In terms of our authenticity for consumers, consumers know that if they're buying skincare through one of our clinics, we've chosen the clinics carefully and the clinics have chosen us carefully, that they understand that what they're going to be purchasing is clinically proven products that are going to work for them. And when it comes to trust, it's not dissimilar to authenticity. The trust is that the clinics know that if we say this product is proven, we can give them the evidence, we can point them to the clinical studies.
What are the hero products in the AestheticSource skincare portfolio?
Well, that's really easy. Just pick up the price list and look at every single product, because every product is a hero. And I know that sounds glib, but it wouldn't be in our portfolio if we didn't believe that it was going to deliver results. So, for example, we have waited for 10 years for a lip product because we just couldn't find one that really delivered the efficacy we're looking for. We have just launched a revision skincare product called Youthful Lip Replenisher. I'm so excited about it because it's taken us 10 years to find a product that really does stack up. Every brand that we carry has its hero products as well. So if we look, for example, at Skin Better Science, the hero there to me is Alpha-Ret. It's a conjugated molecule of an alpha hydroxy acid and a retinoid. I mean, it's a genius idea, and it measures up in practice. Neostrata will always be a favourite of mine. I've always said that if you cut me in half, I would bleed Neostrata. I fell in love with glycolic acid back in the 1990s. I haven't fallen out of love with it. It is a wonderful ingredient. And the second and third generation hydroxy acids, something like lactobionic acid, it's such a powerful ingredient. It's so good at what it does. And what it does is give you anti-aging benefits if you have sensitive and damaged skin. Cysteamine as a molecule has been highly effective. Cispira is the brand that have taken the cysteamine molecule, removed the smell and brought it to market. We have for the last several years had a 5% Cispira product on the market. It's been so successful. It is such a good product. It's cosmetic, so no prescription is required. Patients can use it for years. We've got patients who've been on it for 5 or 6 or 7 years, in fact, in some cases, which is outstanding for a product that treats pigmentation. Now that we've got the 5%, and we really understand how it's worked, we've launched something called Cispira System, which is an advance on the 5%. It's a 7% cysteamine. Cispira System has been known in the UK for the last couple of years as a real change in treatment approach, and now we've got an even better system. So that's really exciting. Revision Skincare is such a brilliant range to work with. Firstly, from a commercial perspective, it's a high-value brand with extremely good clinical evidence and some really interesting products. But from a consumer perspective, because the clinics are allowed to buy it online, they can access it. So from a clinic viewpoint commercially, they have a really good route to market because they can both sell online and they can sell through their clinics. And that can drive footfall into the clinic because they can reach the local consumers in their area and get them coming in for consultations on skincare. The other great thing about Revision Skincare is the products that they produce. One of the ones that really attracted me to it in the first instance that I went hunting for is their range called IntelliShade, which we're just launching in the UK market now. Last year at CCR conference, we launched a product called Revox Line Relaxer. The sales of Revox Line Relaxer have gone through the roof. It is such a brilliant product. It can be used either as an adjunct to a botulinum toxin treatment or as a standalone treatment. And what it does is it's a collection of peptides that mimic the effect, the acetylcholine effect of a botulinum toxin. So where I've seen extremely powerful results are in the little fine lines and wrinkles underneath the eyes. And I haven't yet come across anybody who said they've tried it and not found it effective. It's a really brilliant product. And it's so nice to use because if you store it in the fridge, when you go down in the morning, make a cup of tea early in the morning and you just massage your eye area with this cold applicator tip. It's metal and it feels so soothing. Do you remember when we used to put cucumber around our eyes?
Absolutely.
Gives you that beautiful cooling feeling. And you know that it's also getting rid of fine lines and wrinkles in the short term. And then underneath the surface of the skin, it's doing its work long term. So you get the instant effect that day, the first time you use it, but you also get the long term effect. And in terms of patient compliance and usage, because they see that instant result, and if you go and have a look at the website, you can see before and afters that, I mean, they made my eyes open when I saw that. Really? Really? Oh, but now I can do it and I can see, I'm using it myself, our team use it, our customers are using it. It's an amazing product. It's just one of a portfolio of products through Revision Skincare. One of my other secret favourites is Body Firm. Revision Skincare Body Firm tightens your body. I say no more. Oxygenetics joined the AestheticSource family a couple of years ago. It's a wonderful, wonderful range. The beauty of Oxygenetics is that in clinic you can use it post-treatment. After non-ablative procedures, after injectables, after a peel, it sits beautifully on the skin. And the joy of it is that it allows the skin to breathe. You can colour match somebody and you've got an SPF all in one. It's a really super product. As well, you can find that you use it as a makeup, as a foundation for everyday use. So yes, it has a great reputation in clinics, but actually from a commercial perspective, selling this in a clinic to patients as a foundation makeup is brilliant. There are two different ranges. One is for normal skin and one is for blemish-prone, oily skins. What I love about it is I can put it on in the morning, work all day, go out for dinner in the evening, and it's got that stayability that means I don't need to top up my makeup at the end of the day. It's a really interesting product as well in terms of its heritage. Oxygenetics founder goes back all the way to the 1880s in Hollywood. So this is not a new product. And when I first heard that, I thought, Hollywood, 1880s? But it was a place where acting happened before films were being produced in Hollywood. And it's got that much heritage behind it. It's a great brand. When I think about Neostrata, I see a range which is brilliant clinical excellence. It has no aroma to it, and it's there to do a really serious job. What I love about working with Neostrata Company is they have three different ranges. So they have Neostrata, which is the in-clinic range, and then they have Exuviance Professional and Exuviance Retail. Exuviance Professional is exactly that. It is for professional use in clinic by therapists, nurses, doctors who understand skin and want to deliver not just the effectiveness of the skincare ingredients that we talk about with Neostrata, but to have the delight of beautiful aroma, wonderful sensation of the products. They're the most beautiful products to use. So Exuviance Professional for a therapist who wants to be doing treatments on patients' skin all day long with peels and also luxury facials. Exuviance is a dream. It's where science meets spa. Exuviance Retail is a spin-off from that. So if you carry Exuviance Professional in your clinic, then we have retail products within the Exuviance Professional line. But separately and available now online is Exuviance Retail, which is a similar portfolio of products, but packaged completely differently and very much with the consumer in mind. And it's a wonderful range. Different products to Exuviance Professional, but the same science that we love and know.
I'm going to put you on the spot now. What's your favourite or must-have ingredient in a skincare product and why?
It has to be antioxidants. I wouldn't leave the house without antioxidants on my skin. Vitamin C, it's critical. It is the best antioxidant, and I believe strongly, and I think science would point to the fact that tetrahexyl decyl ascorbate, THD, is the best form of vitamin C. And with Revision Skincare C+ correcting serum, we have the highest percentage in any skincare ingredient at 30%. but you wouldn't know it when you put it on your skin because it's just gentle and beautiful to use. And I can't finish this sentence without saying, please, please, everybody, wear an SPF every day, please.
When the business was starting in the early days, was it tough?
Oh gosh, yes, it was incredibly tough. It was so busy. I mean, we started off literally at the kitchen table with a lock-up, and then we moved to a bigger kitchen table, and then we moved to a shed in the garden. We have a joke in the office about the people who joined us in pre-shed days. And yeah, it was incredibly difficult. I have a photograph which always makes me smile, sitting at the dinner table, absolutely exhausted after a day out in the field seeing customers. And I've cooked dinner, children have eaten, and my two younger sons both were feeling tired and headachy. And so I'm sitting in front of my computer at the dinner table with a hand on each of their heads, giving them a head massage while I'm reading a clinical article. And that just says everything about motherhood and running a business. And then even when we'd moved to our own offices, when it comes to conferences, our house was where everything was delivered to. So again, you sometimes couldn't even get in through the front door. Lots of interesting challenges. And as the company has grown and developed, that has obviously changed.
Family is important above all, but can be a challenge as a business owner. I know you have 3 sons, Ollie, Will and Alex. Was it tricky juggling motherhood and starting a business when you still had the school run, extracurricular sports matches, and what you're all having for dinner to consider?
I've missed key moments at times in their lives, and I've missed key moments in the industry as well, because I chose to be with them. So examples, sitting on a train 2 minutes outside my hometown while my son was singing his first major solo and the train broke down, and I just sat there and watched the clock tick past the moment he was supposed to sing, and received a message from a friend to say he sang really beautifully, and I was still sitting still on the train, and I cried. I cried buckets. Yeah, really tough. I missed a try. My youngest son was playing rugby and he scored a really important try, and I'd taken a call from a clinic who had a patient who they were concerned about and wanted my advice. They were hard lessons, but I think I made the right choice in that one, because other people had photographed the try and I was there on the touchline, but I needed to make sure that the clinic was getting the support that it needed.
And now that your boys are in their early 20s, are they involved in the AestheticSource business?
So my middle son, Will, got a first in his business degree, and his summer job last year was to look at new offices and potentially warehousing for AestheticSource, and he did a massive scoping project, which was really great. Alex, my youngest son, spent 2 years in customer care, so if you've ever spoken to an Alex on the phone at AestheticSource, that's my son. I can tell you, listening to him explaining what N-acetyltyrosinemide is to a patient has me in hysterics. I have to be really careful with it. I'm not heard in the background laughing across the office. And Ollie, my eldest son, does some of our content writing for us as well. He's a real wordsmith. So yes, it is a team effort.
Okay.
The thing about the family at AestheticSource, though, is it's not just my blood relatives. The family at AestheticSource is an ethos that we have. We work together as family. We care about each other. We have each other's backs. I love working at AestheticSource because of that, and I know that the team feel the same.
I've watched your business grow and heard all the good things that people say about you and your team, but it's not just word of mouth, is it? I'm sure that you have had to invest in extra shelves recently to house the growing number of awards that AestheticSource has won over the years, including your most recent commendations at the Aesthetic Awards 2022 for Training Provider of the Year and Distributor of the Year. What do these award wins mean to you?
Winning awards is really precious. One of the things I love about winning awards is that it's not us that has measured whether our brand is successful or our company is successful. It's that the awards judging team have looked at our entry, they've analysed it, they've challenged it, and they've decided that we deserve to win, whether it's as Training Provider, Distributor of the Year, or the very precious skincare range of the year. It's almost like a shorthand for clinics, so they can have a quick look, who won? Right, we can trust that, because that win means that they've been measured by peers. So both Training and Distributor of the Year are massively important to us. We were so excited to win Best Skincare with Skin Better Science. That particular achievement is really precious to me because we've only had the brand in the UK for 3 years. And to win Best Skincare amongst some really excellent competition for a brand that's only 3 years old speaks so loudly to the clinical efficacy, the marketing prowess, the positioning of Skin Better Science. I'm really proud of that award.
For want of a better cliche, there's no I in team. You now have a considerable team behind you at AestheticSource, the same team that can often be seen in a large pile on the floor at the end of an exhausting conference weekend. How important is it to have this great work family around you?
Critical. It's absolutely critical to have the work family around me. When I see my team growing, when I see people flourishing, it is the greatest excitement, second to watching one's own children flourish. So, for example, Casey joined us at a conference at the Royal College of Physicians 5 years ago as a temp, and she was lovely, and I wanted to adopt her, and she's now running our customer care team absolutely brilliantly. She's superb. Watching her grow in confidence, watching her abilities grow, that gives me joy. And same with Carol, who's our general manager. She came 10 years ago for a 2-hour session to teach us how to use QuickBooks, and she's not left. She now fundamentally runs the company and is a great friend to boot. It's a real family effort.
What does the future hold for AestheticSource? Any juicy news you can divulge?
So we've grown consistently over the last 10 years, and I hope that that's going to continue for many, many more years to come.
How do you go about selecting a brand to distribute?
When we start looking at a brand, and we get approached all the time, I probably get 3 or 4 different approaches every single week on average. What we do is we look first of all at the science behind the brand. Does it stack up? Are the clinical studies actually published clinical studies from a peer-reviewed journal, or are they just in-house studies? What about the company? Is the company a company that's going to work well with us? We want somebody who is ethical, somebody who works like we do with authenticity, trust and passion. We then get product to test, and we work with a group of key opinion leaders and make sure that they understand the brand and give us advice and feedback on whether they think the products are as good as we think they are internally. We obviously do clinical tests on the products as well, and we work with the regulatory team to make sure that every single product is correctly registered in the markets that we work with. So that means the EU CPNP process and the UK SCPM process on every product we carry. Once we're ready to launch the product, it's really important that we're delivering the correct training. So another part of the process of reviewing a brand is to look at their training materials and make sure that we really can give the clinics and the clinicians and the therapists true training, proper understanding as to why these ingredients work the way that they do.
For you to distribute various brands within the UK, some of which have their roots in the USA, you must forge strong relationships with the brand owners. How does that bond benefit your customers?
That's a really interesting question. I think it's really important that the friendship that I have with the suppliers and that the rest of the family at AestheticSource have with the suppliers is felt by the customers, so that our clinicians can pick up the phone and speak to the medical department, for example, at Neostrata Company, and that those relationships are spread beyond just AestheticSource to the supplier. So, for example, the Neostrata Symposium that we held a couple of years ago before lockdown, working very closely with the whole international team at Neostrata Company and bringing in nigh on 300 doctors from around the world to learn about Neostrata. It was a really exciting moment, and I think it benefits the clinic that we have such a close relationship and are trusted by our suppliers.
I'd like to touch on some of the additional benefits that you provide to your customers that help you to stand out. Starting with an extensive training programme. Tell us about that.
Yes, so training has always been very important to me. I've experienced excellent training and I've experienced less than excellent training. We hope to always deliver excellent training to clinics, and that means looking at every part of the process of a patient arriving in clinic and then staying for years and years receiving good quality care. So making sure that every level of the multidisciplinary team has the knowledge of skincare and skincare ingredients, and making sure that the brand specific knowledge is absolutely up to scratch. So we do basic trainings and then we do follow-on trainings. So as soon as a new product comes out, we'll do a training on that. And for example, we had our pigmentation symposium recently at the Royal College of GPs, where we put on a day specifically on pigmentation and looked across the whole of our portfolio at different options for treatment. When it came to the beginning of lockdown, or rather before the beginning of lockdown, when we could see that it was on the horizon, I took the decision with the team at AestheticSource to look at how we could support clinics. If they were going to have to close their doors, how were they going to be able to stay in business when they couldn't do their treatments? And the obvious solution is to make sure that their patients were getting good consultations for skincare and being able to deliver that skincare to their homes. So we did two things with immediate effect, and this was a couple of weeks before lockdown was announced, is we worked with our warehouse to make sure that we could drop ship for clinics. And then we worked with our training team to make sure that we had webinars that were ready to go immediately with both our key opinion leaders and our own trainers, whether they're internal trainers of ours or whether they were supplier trainers, to make sure that from day one we had a programme that people could spend their time when they weren't in clinic learning and developing their skincare practices. And we've had feedback, some wonderful feedback from both individual practitioners and clinics, that they would not have made it through if they hadn't had AestheticSource standing beside them. And interestingly, in some cases, it wasn't just that we were able to teach them how to sell online and teach them about the skincare. It was actually that social network that we supplied. I was doing a Tuesday Tips every Tuesday that was going out to the whole of our database, just talking about what it was like in lockdown. Sometimes it was how to deal with a clinical issue, and sometimes it was simply how to deal with the loneliness of working from home.
And then there is the marketing support available to your customers, so that clinics have access to assets and resources they can use to target their own clientele. What kind of tools do you provide?
Every brand that we work with has its own tools, and in many cases we produce extra tools of our own. And these are tools that are point of sale, so display stands, literature, other ways of communicating the efficacy of the brand to patients. Then we have point of treatment materials. So if somebody's doing a peel or a facial in clinic, we have materials that we can use. We have a very lovely system that we work with, that if you take on a brand and you want the marketing materials, we send a PDF which is linked through to all of the different assets. If a clinic is having an open event, maybe they're having an open day to talk about skincare, then we'll work with them for bespoke materials as well. We also have a very strong social media campaign for all of our brands, and a very strong voice for consumer on the brands. And those assets are available to our clinics as well. And we have a team of business development managers around the country, and they help the clinics to access all of those materials.
Another very important area for aesthetic practitioners, aside from training and marketing support, is being able to reach out to a supplier when something doesn't go to plan. You have a robust adverse event policy just for those eventualities. Explain how you can support clinics should the worst happen.
So adverse events are fortunately extremely rare. Often there is a treatment response rather than an adverse event. And whether it's a treatment response or an adverse event, we will work very, very closely with the practitioner to make sure that the patient has the support that they need. The brands that we work with have robust global adverse event reporting processes that we use. But we go above and beyond those, because it's not just important to report any issue to the manufacturer. The critical thing is to make sure that the nurse, the doctor, the dentist, the therapist, whoever it is who is involved in the adverse event, feels comfortable and supported by our team, and we understand what the outcomes of any issue are.
The aesthetic sector is very different to 10 years ago. What do you think have been the most significant changes in how clinics operate?
I think that's a really interesting question. And I would say that every decade that I've been in aesthetics, and that's 3 decades, the approach has changed. What I see now are clinicians who have a grounding in skincare. They understand that we're not just chasing lines like we used to, that because of the amount of experience we've got now with these effective skincare ingredients that do affect the way the skin ages, they slow down the aging process, they make sure that the collagen, the hyaluronic acid is still functioning, they get rid of pigmentation through all sorts of different pathways. There are so many opportunities that we understand. So rather than needing to lean on lasers and fillers and toxins, we can now do so much with effective skincare, and I think that does change the way the practice works. I also think that from a commercial perspective, everybody's looking for passive income. And with skincare, it's so easy to develop that passive income, develop the relationship with the patient, and they will keep coming back for years for that great skincare that makes their skin glow.
What would be your advice to new market entrants, say a nurse or doctor who's decided to start offering aesthetic treatments like injectables, maybe some peels? Is that enough? What are they missing out on?
I have this great belief that every patient who walks through the door of a clinic is buying skincare. They're buying it somewhere, whether they're buying it with their supermarket shop or whether they're going to Harrods and spending £600 on a pot of Promise. They're buying skincare. They're coming to an aesthetic practitioner to do something about their skin. They may come in with a predefined idea that they will have an injectable, but having a conversation with them about how their skin might look, about the glow that they could have with the right skincare ingredients, is going to make people prick up their ears. I've been doing it in clinic for many, many years, and I've seen the results time and again. So my biggest piece of advice to a new practitioner is get the right skincare products into your clinic, and you will just find that your footfall increases and increases and increases, because your patient will leave the clinic not just with wrinkles gone because you've done an injectable treatment, but with a skin that truly glows with health, and other people will notice.
During the COVID pandemic, which closed many non-essential businesses, some clinics turned to online skincare consultations and mail order product sales. Is that concept over now that we've returned to normal?
The consumer has got used to buying online. They like buying online, but they also like their consultations, they like the knowledge. So a clever practitioner who can blend the two, either with online consultations or by seeing their patient once or twice a year for review and then making sure that they get repeat skincare products, is going to capitalise on all of that. The AestheticSource family is a great place to be. We work very closely together. We also work not only well with our suppliers, but also with some partners in the industry. Behind the scenes, what you won't see is our warehouse, which is outsourced, our design team, who are outsourced, and as well as that, we work with a company called Get Harley. The collaboration between AestheticSource and Get Harley has been extremely successful because we have the most excellent skincare ranges, and what they do is make sure that those skincare products are delivered direct to the patient. So they work with the clinicians to ensure a great online experience for the patient with a consultation, and then follow up through the Get Harley platform to make sure that the patient can easily access not only repeat products of the same products that they've already purchased, but also when a new product is launched, or when the seasons change and maybe it's time to increase the SPF that they're wearing, then they can get approached through Get Harley, and it's so simple for them to purchase their products.
You mentioned Get Harley. I was fortunate to trial this concept with Dr. Sophie Schotter, who we both know well, using her prescription of various Neostrata and Skin Better Science products just for me. As well as the ease of delivery and the online consultation, I found that as a consumer, my compliance with the skincare regime was much better than if I had just walked away with some products and got on with it by myself. I had regular catch-ups online to discuss my progress, and that sort of checking in with the teacher aspect really helped drive me to commit to the process and see the benefits. I think it's a great tool for practitioners and patients alike, and it makes the repeat revenue much easier, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, and I think there are lessons that we can all learn about our patients and how we handle them, even with fillers and toxins, to make sure that that 14-day review happens, and then potentially we should be following them up more often, particularly if we're working with them with skincare as well.
They say that people buy from people, so although I know you well, I am keen to share more with our audience. Tell me, what drives you?
I have two big drivers, and it's both about making other people happy. And the first one is about happy patients. I know that there is excellent skincare out there, and you don't need to spend more than you would if you were to go shopping on Oxford Street. And I want people to understand that. I want people, journalists and consumers, to know where to get really great skincare. My other driver is watching people grow. Whether it's a clinic growing because they've had huge success with our skincare, or whether it's a member of the customer care team who's joined, nervous on their first day, first job, don't know what they're doing, and after 6 months they're sitting confidently on the phone discussing with a plastic surgeon about a skincare ingredient, and I just love that.
More and more women are becoming entrepreneurs or mumpreneurs, I'm not sure how I feel about that term, and setting up businesses. We see it a lot in all aspects of the aesthetic sector, from clinic owners to service providers. This is a wonderful thing for women and feminism. But do you think it's easy or difficult for women to set up and run successful businesses nowadays?
I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm going to say it's doable. It's doable if you put your mind to it. I'm a strong believer that the female brain and the male brain work in very different ways. In fact, a girlfriend of mine has written a book on the engendered brain, and it's a book that looks at male and female brains in business. Well worth a read. Her name is Kate Lands. It's a fabulous book. Understanding that helps us work together in the way a multidisciplinary team works well together. If the dermatologist understands what the therapist knows and the nurse understands what the doctor's doing, I know that sounds simplistic, but it makes such a difference. And the same in business, to have men and women working together with our different approaches, I think can really add benefit to a business.
It's not all plain sailing though, and with your permission, we're going to discuss something that was very frightening for you and those around you, and has had a profound impact on how you live your life and manage your business. A few years ago, you experienced a stroke. Tell us about that experience and the changes that it brought.
Yeah, it was terrifying. It was so terrifying that I went for many months without admitting to myself, let alone to anybody else, that I was having problems. And the biggest problem I was having is that I couldn't see properly. And there was a large section of my visual field in both eyes that wasn't there. And I developed this kind of curious tic. So if I wanted to see something that was down there, rather than just glancing down, I would move my whole head down. And it became a problem for me. And that was when I started to reach out for help. And also, I was having reflexology, and my reflexologist said to me one week, I will not book you in again. You're not coming to see me until you've sought help. There is something wrong with your eyes. At that point, I wasn't expecting the diagnosis of stroke at all. So when I was sitting in front of the Moorfields Eye Hospital consultant, and they said, well, no, it's not glaucoma or Parkinson's or any of the other differential diagnoses that we've discussed. This is a stroke. I was absolutely, well, shattered, because I was in my 50s and I lost my driving licence. They recommended I wrote to the NMC, and I consequently surrendered my nursing practice. That was incredibly difficult. To go through the journey I then went through, and I can't tell this story without thanking Dr. Stephanie Williams for her support, guidance and friendship. Against my better judgment and knowledge as a nurse, there was actually something that I could do, and that I could heal, and I could get my driving licence back, and I do have a full visual field again. I feel so blessed and so full of energy. And that journey took me through a huge experience of learning about meditation and of understanding how stress can affect the body. And I now meditate every day. I continue to meditate every day. One of my favourite sayings is that you should meditate for 20 minutes a day, unless you have a problem, unless you are worried or stressed, in which case you should meditate for an hour a day. And I do, and it keeps me going. I have learnt so much about team support, about family support, about how people come together when there's a problem. And the team at AestheticSource today in May 2022 are the most wonderful people of support, and they've given me the courage to keep going when there've been very dark moments when I've thought I just can't do this anymore. And I have done it, and it's wonderful.
With that in mind, how do you make time for yourself, and what do you like to do in your downtime?
I got my bicycle out a couple of years ago and did a sponsored bike ride one September, and I've kept that up. In fact, this weekend just gone, I cycled 40 miles on Saturday and 40 miles on Sunday, and I went on walks both days, and I did some sea swimming both days as well. So yeah, exercise and activity, keeping me well. I come from a musical background. I often get home in the evenings and spend a few minutes playing the piano. And actually, during lockdown, I took out my viola, which I haven't played for a long, long time. So I did grade 8 when I was 14, and I loved the viola. And it's time to play again. I'm probably in grade 2 now, but it's fun.
So if you could grab a TARDIS and head back to 2012 to give yourself a piece of advice, as you set up AestheticSource, what would that be?
It would be to believe in myself and to believe in the opportunity that I had.
I want to thank you for your time today. It's been a wonderful time getting to know you, getting to learn more about you and the history of AestheticSource.
And thank you too, Lorna.
And thank you for watching.